So I'm Emily Turk, and I'm here to tell the story of my mom, Diana Morton, who grew up downwind from Hanford. I grew up in Moscow, Idaho, which is considered downwind from Hanford. She grew up in Moscow, Idaho, which is about 180 miles from Hanford, east from Hanford. So I heard about Hanford all throughout my childhood because my mom was researching, because she believed that Hanford emissions had something to do with her cancers. So I heard growing up that Hanford was a nuclear site and that there was radioactive emissions headed towards eastern Washington and Idaho, where we lived. I don't know when she first got involved. I remember as a teenager, like 13 or 14, she was doing the surveys, talking to other family members who had, so I should mention that most of my family has thyroid disease, including myself. Everybody's hypothyroid, and there are other cancers. My mom had breast cancer also, so there's, and so did my aunt, and so did cousins, and there's just a lot of cancer in my family. So she started, from my memory, really getting into her research when I was 14 or 15. So I guess that's early 90s, mid 90s. She opens a case with a lawyer out of Eugene, Roy Haber, who is representing a lot of downwinders. And I don't know when she opened the case, but after she died, they contacted us. And so we were surprised to see it. So it's still open, and she's one of the claimants for the hypothyroidism case.
Do you know how many people he's representing?
I think it's in the thousands, but I'm not sure.
And now was your family or your mother kind of the only one that was researching it? Like, were you the only kid in town that knew about Hanford?
Probably. Oh yes, yeah. And I just did an interview for our class with family members there, and they still don't know much about Hanford. So my mom was a teacher and a librarian, so she had the resources to research it. And so yes, I'm sure she was the only one in the area doing that. Now that I am learning about Hanford at school and from your website too, I understand that she knew what she was doing, and she even distributed surveys to people throughout the city and our other family members who have thyroid disease or cancer. So she was doing really amazing work. She loved it. My parents wanted to move to the city. They were tired of being in a small town. So I think it increased her her exposure to research, especially being she went and got a master's degree at Western Washington, and I really think the bulk of her research started after we moved to Seattle, and probably after files were released in the early 90s about Hanford. So I think that she actually got more into it after she moved to the city.
A lot of that stuff came out in the late 80s. Do you remember, did she feel Hanford was to blame even before that? Like,
I'm not sure, since I was little.
Yeah.
If I could guess, I would say yes. I think that she was aware of the site, and when I was growing up, she would say, "Oh, we were downwind in the 40s and 50s when I was growing up." So she knew that when I was little. Yeah. I just thought Mom, and then I saw Holly's name, and I really wanted to take her class. So I just immediately thought, wow, this is something I probably need to learn about. It's not a class I would normally take. And so I just kind of took it. Yeah.
Have you talked to anyone in your family about taking this class?
Oh yeah, I've told all my siblings before I even started. I said, I'm taking a class about Hanford, and my brother sent me one of Mom's books that he had. He goes, oh, well, here's a couple books that she was reading, and and we immediately started looking for research and files. And then, of course, for our interview project, I interviewed her cousin who grew up at the same time.
Especially before this class. Did you ever end up talking to anybody about Hanford or talking about?
I didn't. This class really opened my eyes. I definitely with my siblings and my immediate family. I have three siblings. There's 4 of us. So we definitely talked about it, and also just trying to retain her info after she passed away. Unfortunately, we lost some of her files, but just, you know, trying to keep her legacy alive. But no, I never did my own research or had any interest in, you know, finding out more until I took this class. Again, I don't have the files. We actually lost a lot of it on the computer, so we kind of had to let go of that. But putting 2 and 2 together after taking this class, I'm pretty sure her research was on the green run experiment, and how the iodine was emitted to. So she grew up in the Palouse in northern Idaho, Moscow, Idaho. And it's a really lush farming area with rolling hills, and the hills were actually created from really strong winds from the Tri-Cities. They call them the Pasco winds over thousands of years. So not only was Moscow, Idaho downwind, it was really strongly downwind. All of the winds from that area go there. So and then of course, you know, the iodine landed in the farms and the cows ate it. And my mom was a toddler at the time, so she was probably drinking milk. So her research was mostly about that. I'm sure she did she researched the Department of Energy, she did research with the CDC reports and all of it. So I'm hoping to find, I'm just now starting to look for it, so I'm hoping to find more, but it was not finished. And we've often thought about, you know, finishing it for her.
Since you have a very personal connection with her, was it difficult taking this class? Is it difficult for you to ask that question?
No, it's not difficult. I'm actually really honored. My mom was really passionate about, she was writing a book, she was writing a memoir about Hanford, and she didn't get to finish it. So I kind of took this class in her honor, not to mention my favorite professor was teaching it. But it's been really exciting actually, and I've been sharing all of the information with my family, and they're really excited. And so I wouldn't say it's been difficult. It's been new. It's been kind of opening new areas that I haven't talked about, but it's more exciting.
Do you think it would be important for other students in Washington State to learn about Hanford, and if so, why?
Absolutely, because it affects all of us in Washington, not just the people who are in the close proximity like we were. I think especially because the tanks are leaking now, that it could affect all of us especially if waste hits the Columbia River. So I think that absolutely. Plus, it's a historical legacy. I mean, kids should be learning about the Cold War and, you know, the history of Hanford too. I have a distorted view because I think of Hanford as something that causes diseases in people. But I think the general public, I think they should know that. I think that they should be aware of the health impacts of people like my mom who live downwind. But I also think that it's important that people understand the environmental impacts that are happening now and that affect us all, and that may not cause diseases, but, you know, is a threat to people and animals and the whole environment. And I think it's scary. I think that that the fact we're not hearing much about it until recently on, you know, King 5 News, and there's been some press about it. I think that that's something people need to become aware of.